Let's have a nice cup of TRE in the afternoon with Hannah Murray.
Joining us on the line now is Caroline Mills. She's an award-winning travel writer and is also a country girl and farmer's wife. Having moved no more than 5 miles from where she grew up in the Cotswolds, she's been able to call the region home for more than 50 years. Her new book, This Is Not My Land, is her memoir of owning and managing a 65-acre farm for over 30 years. Welcome to the show, Caroline.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's great to have you with us. So I'm interested how all this started. You and your partner, Paul, in your early 20s, bought 65 acres of land. How and why?
Absolutely. How and why? Oh, gosh. When we pretty much the very first meeting that when I met my now-to-be husband, he mentioned that he'd always wanted to own some land ever since he was 4 years old, and he told his grandmother that he wanted to be a farmer when he grew up. We thought it would be absolutely impossible. I was 19 when I met him. He was just 2 or 3 years older than me, and land around here, the Cotswolds, even back then, was sort of way out of our league. And somehow I still don't know how, beginner's luck, we somehow ended up with this 65 acres of land, the offer that we put in, and it was accepted incredibly. And here we are 30 years later.
Oh, that's amazing. So after acquiring that amount of land, what do you do next?
What do we do next? Well, we had to put our thinking caps on quite quickly. My husband was running a very small little sort of landscaping. He was a tree surgeon and running his own small business. I was still actually at university studying for my degree. I just started tentatively into journalism. And we thought, right, well, we now own this land, and in order to hang on to it, it needs to earn a living. And so we turned to what he'd always wanted to be, a farmer. And we looked into the various things and what we knew, and that's kind of how it came about, really.
Yeah. So what did you start to do? What does that mean to be a farmer?
So, what we knew, sort of just from childhood alone, was all about rearing and chickens and ducks and incubating eggs and looking after poultry. And we wanted, because we only had 65 acres of land, which around here is sort of a very small farm, realistically. We knew that there were limited things that we could do that would be justifiably viable. So we knew straight from the off that we wanted to be more environmental than farming was at the time, back in the late 80s, and we were now into the early 90s. It was all about milk lakes and butter mountains and all that across Europe. So we knew we wanted to go straight into better welfare for our livestock, treat the farm with environmental sort of ethos in mind straight away. So we instantly, within 12 months, we started to transition to organic farming, which took 2 years to do the full transition at the time.
Wow.
And it's taken it from there, really.
Yeah.
And over time, it's a very traditional farm in that I started to look at the history of the farm, realised I'd got this incredible 1,000-year-old history of it in immense detail, and realised that what we'd got actually was very, very special, much more special than we had initially realised when we just sort of walked around the farm in first instance. And we'd got these incredible traditional hay meadows. So that is one of our main focuses, particularly for the sort of conservation efforts and the way they look now, 30 years on, is with all the wildflowers in them throughout the spring and summer, is just extraordinary.
Oh, fantastic. Before I ask you about the land, I just want to go back to organic farming. What does that mean then? What's the difference?
So the organic farming, you have to have a transition period for the land itself, which whereby you cannot use any of the pesticides, herbicides, all that sort of element within with livestock production. You can't use medicines or traditional medicines, veterinary prescribed, that sort of thing. So if we needed to use anything, we would have to look at what I would call sort of therapeutic treatments, realistically. So things like apple cider vinegar, that is an immense antibiotic. So, and we'd have to look at herbal remedies and things like that, which can sound a little bit fanciful, but we've spent 30 years looking after livestock and we've never once had to use an actual medicine.
That's amazing. Wow, that just goes to show how possible it is.
It is possible. It's hard work, but it is possible, yes.
Amazing. So obviously organic products, as we know, as consumers, are generally a lot more expensive to buy. Is therefore looking after the animals and the land in an organic way, presumably it's more expensive for you, is it?
Very much so, yes, because the feed itself is considerably more expensive, and it is without doubt more labour intensive. As I say, that we can't throw medicines at our livestock. So the management, realistically, the husbandry has to be second to none. To make sure, realistically, that you don't need those medicines in the first place. So it's kind of getting that grassroots approach, effectively, with both the land, making sure that the land is in absolutely the very best condition that it can be, and therefore the livestock too.
Yeah. So it obviously makes a huge difference that what you're using on the animals is obviously much better for them and therefore in turn for the humans that are consuming the animal products.
Yes, I mean, there's always the sort of the argument. People claim that it tastes better. Well, I can't argue. I can't answer that realistically. I don't know how much of that is in the mind as to whether it tastes tastes better or not. That's it. There's an element, I think, of the brain telling you that that's what you want to believe. But without a doubt, for the land's sake, putting aside the human element, for the land's sake, we would not have the richness, the species richness that we have on our land if we were hurling every sort of pesticide or herbicide or anything else at it. It's regarded as a designated terminology. It's regarded as species rich. Most of the fields have what's called a priority habitat designation to them. So they have particular designated status. And when we first arrived, we didn't realise but that a small part of the farm was actually designated as a local wildlife site, which means that at county level it is of importance, at least, if not of national importance. And in the 30 years that we've been here, we've now got something like 2/3 of the farm are now within this designated wildlife site.
Oh, fabulous.
Purely and simply from the the management of the land, and as I say, not using all of these chemicals that means that the particular varieties, these species-rich varieties, are able to thrive within the landscape. And as I say, to see it is just phenomenal.
Oh, so I assume you're out there walking around every day, are you?
Yes. Well, as often as I mean, sometimes work means that you can't, and because I'm travel writing as well, so I sort of head off, and I can't wait generally to come back to the farm as well. But surveys, I think, have we've got something like over 200 species of plant alone, with before we consider all of the other wildlife, the butterflies. We've got 80 odd bird species here, about 27 of the native British butterfly species, and then all the other sort of invertebrates and so on that we've recorded here.
Oh, beautiful. There's a grass snake as well that stops you walking through the grass in sandals.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I saw two in one day, and we've come across eggs in the compost heap as well. So we know they're around.
And what about?
I'm very conscious in summertime before the grass has been cut for hay.
Yes, I bet. And what about the excitement of the skylark after 20 years? This was during the lockdown.
It was, yes, yeah. We'd never seen a skylark here, and nothing had been recorded that I was aware of, and it was just something that I was absolutely desperate to be able to have. I say back on the farm. They must have been here, years and years ago. And yes, during lockdown, and I couldn't believe it. It was just one of those glorious blue sky days, really lovely and warm. And we were just about to sit out for lunch, and I heard this noise, and I thought, I know what that is. And I couldn't see it because it was so high, and sort of grabbed all of the family round. And I mean, it really was quite a moment. And I did weep. I can get quite weepy at times, and I did weep at that moment.
Oh, how lovely. And there's also a barn owl that goes up and down at dusk.
There is, yes, albeit we haven't seen him lately. Barn owls have apparently really struggled, last year, because of the temperatures. Obviously, it got really, really hot in the summertime here, and temperatures and such that the voles were not about, and all the things that they like to go hunting for. But we generally see them particularly sort of early spring and Septemberish, when it starts to get sort of quite misty at dusk, and we've got two very long fields, and they will hunt up and down both of those. And it's an absolutely glorious sight. I love seeing the barn owl.
Yeah, I bet. And this book and other books you've written are described as slow travel. What does slow travel mean? It's a sort of an ethos, really, in as much as it's not specifically that you climb onto a bus, or you go walking or cycling, although that is very much a part of it. It's more about, instead of that kind of tick box mentality of flying halfway around the world to go Christmas shopping for a weekend, and not seeing or doing really anything at all. It's more about staying in one very small locale and getting to know it really, really well. This particular book is sort of the absolutely microcosmic essence of slow travel, in that it's taken 30 years getting to know these 5 fields. So so slow travel in terms as a tourist can be that you, instead of just I've come to the Cotswolds, you might come to a very specific area of the Cotswolds, because the Cotswolds is quite a large region.
you get to know it over a weekend or a much longer period, taking your time slowly to get to know the sort of the landscape.
Yeah. And has it become quite touristy or even crowded over the years as it's become more and more popular with celebrities and the wealthy? And, it's a stunning place, I know. Have you seen more tourists?
Yes, very much. I mean, it has without doubt got busier. The part of the Cotswolds that I'm based in was really a sort of a backwater of the Cotswolds that nobody knew about when I was growing up. It is now very much celebrity and millionaires row and billionaires row, even for that matter. And there are parts, villages like Bourton on the Water and Bybury, I know, are really struggling with sort of over-tourism. But that said, walk 5 minutes away from the high street and you can still have the Cotswolds and its hills and the valleys to yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously, the over-tourist element gets all the press for all the wrong reasons, but there's still some incredible villages that don't get the tourists and are realistically more authentic for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Have you met any of the celebs who have moved in locally or seen any of them about?
I try to avoid it.
Fair enough.
And in some respects, they're not necessarily that interested in meeting local. There is something to be said that they do keep themselves to themselves.
Yes, fair enough. And I wanted to ask you about the title of the book. Why have you called it "This Is Not My Land"?
It was. There's that sort of classic farmer sort of thing of get off my land, and this is my land. And I think, and when we very first bought it, and it was, yes, this is our land. This is ours. It belongs to us. Well, yes, it still belongs to us, but I guess the wisdom that comes as growing growing older is that you realise that actually, yes, it belongs to us in terms of ownership papers, but we are merely custodians passing through, and for that, want to make sure that we leave it in the best possible state, and also that we share it with all of the wildlife that lives here or passes through as well, and it's as much for them as it is for us to enjoy, and we have to accept that we are part of that sort of natural cycle.
Yes, it's a lovely way of looking at it. You're creating a home for so many species, so it's their land then, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, indeed. And they were probably here first as well in many instances, maybe with the exception of the skylark. But we have to. We're part of that natural cycle, and without that whole natural cycle, we won't exist. So that's an important part of it. Without those butterflies, without those, without all the invertebrates, without the birds, without the flowers, particular flower species that we have within the hay meadows that are particular for, be it food sources for either butterflies or particular birds for seeds and so on. It's a sort of more holistic approach.
Yes, lovely. Well, if people want to get a copy of This Is Not My Land, it's available on our website, TRE.radio, in the bookshop section, and it's by Caroline Mills, who we've been chatting with today. Caroline, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you. Lovely to chat to you.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.